Welcome to the Vernon Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Vernon. Today we're going to be giving you a little bit of LSU football news. We're scouring the internet, scouring all the sites, looking for some USC fall camp intel. Excuse me, let me get this situated real quick. We're scouring the internet looking for some USC intel, trying to see, what's going on, what's the pulse around USC around this fall camp time. We know a good bit about LSU, but we need to start knowing our enemy because it's getting close. We're about 2 weeks out from the game, I would say. I think it would be about 2 weeks tomorrow. But, we got some injury news for USC, a couple of interesting things. Then I went ahead and I put all the sizes for the USC offensive line, defensive line, linebacker room, and I'm comparing them to LSU's. I want to give you a direct comparison. We've been talking about them being undersized. We've been talking about all these potential mismatches, but it's time to finally put it to the test. It's time to finally shine some light on it, show you exactly how much smaller, bigger, whatever the case may be. And then we're going to do a little bit of a tough game breakdown for LSU. We're going to tell you the tough games, the must-wins, then we'll talk some CFB auto bids. If you have any questions, related to LSU, college football, anything of that nature, drop them in the comment section. We'll get to them throughout the stream. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We'll be back at LSU's practice tomorrow. We'll have a highlight video for you as well. We'll go in and cover anything that you want us to. Drop that in the chat as well. If you have anything specific that you want to see, you want to find out, yada, 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 you know the deal. Same thing as usual. First things first, LSU 2024. Now, we have a high potential. The season doesn't look like it'll be, too challenging. LSU normally does run into an SEC gauntlet. And, of course, you're still going to run into some tough SEC competition. However, you got about 4 tough games. With that being said, that would put LSU's floor at 8-4, and of course, that's not anything close to what we want, not anything close to what we desire. As whether you be a fan, viewer, just someone in Louisiana, for your overall well-being, you want LSU to win football games. Because if you don't like LSU, well, your neighbor likes LSU. Maybe the person scanning your groceries at Rouse's likes LSU. It's a better society, it's a better fit as a whole when LSU's winning football. So if you're not a college football fan, just go ahead and root for them just to try to help it out. The opener against USC is going to stress out some people, I will admit. A lot of working into new roles, a lot of just uncertainty as a whole is going to go into this. And that's week 1 in general. And then, just to add another layer to it, LSU hasn't won in week 1 in over 4 years. So we're looking at about half a decade worth of a streak that we're looking to break here. I think that would be labeled a tough game because of those 2 factors. The third factor just simply being that you could be put in a bit of a pickle here with USC, just simply because, you got the mismatches with the size, and we'll get into that later at the end of the stream, but something that you're going to have to combat, something that you're going to have to keep in mind is just simply put that this defense might not be up to speed like we would have hoped for in week 1. Are they changing? Are they growing? Are they evolving? Of course, and they could look phenomenal, but it'll probably take a couple of weeks of just gelling it together. Maybe by week 4, week 5, it's an elite level defense, or maybe, we can crack into a top 25 ranking in terms of defense, total scoring, defense sacks, whatever the hell, we're talking about. What I worry though is just that some pieces, or some position groups rather, are up to speed more than others. Like maybe a defensive line room isn't doing bad, and maybe they're putting pressure, but maybe the secondary still has some holes in it, and maybe those issues kind of prevent the defense from reaching their full potential. I think that there's going to be a couple of areas that you're going to look towards. Obviously, the safety position is going to be a little bit of a question mark, only because you've got a bit of a transfer and a little bit of an inexperienced person in Jordan Allen just in that role. Now, Jordan Allen's been at LSU, sure, so he kind of gets the mold, but you would have expected, and nothing's wrong with it, but you would have expected Sage Ryan and Major Burns, or just someone of that nature around those positions. Neither one of them are there. Major's a star. Sage is cross-training, but he's probably going to wind up playing that cornerback spot for a little bit, so now that's in a little bit of a limbo. Obviously, the linebacker room is going to be something that I think is going to take a leap. It's going to grow. Week 1, you'll probably see it be way better than what it was last year. But week 1, it could create a little bit of stress for LSU. Moving a couple weeks down the line, I believe this would be week 7. After LSU's bye week, they could be 5-0. They will be coming off of a bye week. They're going to be at home playing against Ole Miss. Now, this game could be tough for a variety of reasons. Yeah, the transfer portal, yada, yada, yada. Main thing is going to be Jackson Dart and the mobility and just him testing the defense. It's probably the biggest test that they'll face at that point in time. It might be one of the biggest tests they faced the entire season. I think we got one more, and that one will be Alabama. I mean, yeah, Kalen DeBoer, great coach, could have a good squad. It's really not even what's worrying me as much as it is Jalen Milroe could have a field day with this defense. If you see Miller Moss and USC give them any bit of trouble, any bit of pushback, any bit of conflict, and then you go, you kind of do what you have to do throughout those next few weeks, the Nichols, the South Carolina, the UCLA, the South Alabamas. You get your bye week, but if you come in and Jackson Dart makes you have a fit, I feel like it's going to just be understood that Jalen Milroe is going to have his, way with the defense potentially. Now, that's if it's not up to speed and we're kind of just piecing some things together and everyone's scratching their head, throwing their hands up. You could have a lights out game. You could have another Alabama, defeat in Tiger Stadium and keep Brian Kelly's pristine record versus the Crimson Tide at home. And that's another caveat, is that it's at home. You don't have to go on the road. You don't have to be in a tough environment for your two toughest games. You play Ole Miss and you play Alabama right down the road in Tiger Stadium. You've got a lot of fans on your side. You've got a lot of just things, routine-wise that say the same. You've got a lot of just overall hype and confidence. And I think that's going to be the biggest two pieces that you need to see pour throughout the defense. You need them to get hyped. You need them to get confident. If they can do that with a, established win over USC or Ole Miss, this is an entirely different tune on the season. And now their ceiling is 11-1, 10-2, something of that nature. I don't think, like our guy Blanche is saying in the chat, you got Josh Pate saying that floor could be 6-6. That is an astronomically low win total. Now, if you get several injuries across the board, anything can happen. Anybody, at any given point could be thrown into a fit. But I'm going to put their minimum record at 8-4, just simply put, because that's a loss to USC, Ole Miss, Alabama, and A&M. At that point, who else are you losing to? Next game, like we said, we just slipped it out. A&M, that's a tough environment. And, by that point, there's so much tape on LSU. You're at the end point of the year. They've already gone through most of their SEC schedule. If there was some cracks, pieces that are penetrable, so to speak, in LSU's team, then they would be exposed. They would come to light. And at that point in time, Texas A&M can sit back and watch the Bama film, watch the Ole Miss film, watch the USC film, be able to potentially put LSU in a bit of a spot that they were in similarly in Brian Kelly's first year headed into Texas A&M. College football playoff hopefuls looking to keep their record alive, and then they get beat on the head to end the season. There are some must-wins for this year, though, for 2024. LSU, we're talking about an 11-1 ceiling. We're talking about getting past these tough games. None of that matters if you don't get these wins over these teams that, quite frankly, are guaranteed wins in most people's book. But you cannot sleepwalk through this. You cannot just go in and take this for granted, because these could all be considerable trap games. It's not even a trap game when you're playing SEC caliber teams. It's just simply put competitive. First things first, Florida. Napier's going to be on the hot seat. And then another thing that you could really throw into this, and I don't want to be, I don't want to be superstitious. I don't want to be skeptic. I don't want to be nothing like that. Yeah, LSU's won 5 straight. Keep in mind that Florida has the lead in the series. And all I'm saying is if a team has had another team's number for 5 years in a row, their head coach in Billy Napier could potentially be in a year where it's prove yourself now. So what have you done for me lately? Your back's against the wall. You've got to show some toughness. You got to show some oomph in the swamp. What better team to do it against than LSU? If they can somehow, some way find a light and just give LSU a tough game, that would put an entire damper on the college football season. That's game number 1. That's a must-win. That's one of the biggest games you cannot let slip through your fingers. And I know a lot of people in the chat are going to be confused. Why are you talking about LSU losing to Florida? Those type of games, it's not even as much as it being a rivalry, as much as it is just we've seen a thing or two between LSU and Florida, so much so that, like I said, Florida leads the series. Yeah, LSU has a 5-year win streak. You better hope Florida ain't due. And you better hope LSU doesn't mosey into the swamp thinking, oh, we beat them 5 times in a row. We really, we got this one, it wraps. No, you don't. Another game that you got to take serious, Arkansas. It's right after Ole Miss. LSU could be riding high. It's a road game at night, right before you go into that two-stand heading into Texas A&M, the 2 weeks on the road. Now, Arkansas is going to be one of your bottom-of-the-barrel SEC teams. Just going to put it bluntly. You can't go in there and just let them, dictate the pace of the game. You're going to have to hit them hard. You're going to have to hit them early. Same thing with Florida. You're not going to be able to treat these teams like bottom caliber teams. You're going to have to get these done, because if you lose to someone like this, boy, that's a blemish and a half. You might as well throw away the damn season at that point, if you've already got another loss especially. Then, last 2 games that are must-wins, I would say. Vanderbilt, come on. I don't have to explain this one anymore. We won't really have to worry about it. It's in Tiger Stadium. I'm sure it's one of those easy games. You'll probably see Ricky Collins, hell, maybe even Colin Hurley, throw some passes before it's said and done. Do not drop it. Lastly, Oklahoma, please just welcome them to the SEC. Welcome them to the biggest conference in college football. Do not let them, come in and steal one, especially at this point in the season. It's the end of the year. You've got nothing left to show the college football playoff voters. This is the final taste in the mouth, so to speak, that they will have before they raise hands and throw names in a hat, so to speak. LSU can't drop one at this point. You cannot right your wrong at this point. It's similar to what we were talking about with Texas A&M beating LSU in year 1 with BK. A couple of losses will be just deafening in that aspect. It will completely override anything that LSU has done if they lose to those 4 teams. And I mean, there obviously could be a lot more scenarios that unfold. It's just those seem to be the most probable. Those 4 games are going to be some of them, games that a lot of people are going to overlook. A lot of people are kind of not going to pay attention to. I'll throw Vanderbilt off of it. I'm just saying it's a must-win just because, like I said, it's at that end of the year. I really don't worry about it at all. I would consider Florida being a tougher game. Not going to lie, not just because it's on the road, but because of that Napier hot seat. I think that is going to change the entire dynamic of this team, and I think someone like Graham Mertz could be counted on for a couple of big performances. So I'll note that one. And then lastly, Oklahoma. The Oklahoma hype train could pick up steam before that point in the year. And just the fact that you're closing out your season in Tiger Stadium against a team that has not played in the SEC, that'd be damning. It really would be. And I mean, they're going to have to just start fast against USC. Hopefully, carry that beginning of the schedule the way everyone expects. Maybe start 5-0. Maybe head into that bye week with your head held high, and then you get to rest. You get to patch some things up, look at the game film, head into Tiger Stadium against Ole Miss. If you win that game, you could really be, praising yourself. You could really be at the top of college football. I'm not going to lie. I could see 2 things, though. I could see USC sniffing one out of us, and then you're kind of rebuilding in the next couple of weeks, and then you finally get your ranking toward the Ole Miss game, maybe. Or I could see LSU blitzing through it all and then not solidifying their spot in the SEC and not making them be one of the top dogs, but getting pretty close. Because if you look at what FanDuel, what Vegas, what all these people are saying about the college football playoff and who's favored and who's going to win and things of that nature, there's a lot of SEC teams ahead of an LSU. There's a Georgia, a Bama, a Texas, a Ole Miss. At times, you might even see some people throwing some other names ahead of them, like a Tennessee or something insane. But my point being that, you might have something to prove here. If you lose the opener, it's not as big of a deal as losing something like the season closer, just because you have time to prove yourself, as you've seen LSU in the last couple of years have to do. But hopefully they change the tune. Hopefully this is a year that they steer the ship correctly. We'll be doing our breakdown on USC coming soon. I think they got a shot, though. Next segment, we're going to hop in the chat real quick. Our guy Connor, love the show. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate the support, bro. It means a lot. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep evolving. We're going to keep throwing some things up and trying to figure out how to make the show better before the season starts. Blanche in the chat, USC receivers are tall and long. I've seen the bowl game where you're lobbing the ball out there for receivers to fight. It reminds me of Trevor Lawrence and Clemson. Yeah, and the length, that might be the trickiest part of it all for the coverage that LSU, the asset that we possess is just more so physicality and speed up front. Size up front. But on that back end, if you're getting mossed every single play, there ain't much you're going to be able to do about it. The guys that you're going to have on the field are going to be pretty much the most fit guys for that case. It's like Ashton Stamps might be one of your lengthier guys, but if you're running the J.K. Johnson on someone that's got a 2-3 inch advantage, the defensive line pressure might have to get home a lot sooner. CFB announced some interesting things for the auto bids for the college football playoff. A couple of selection criteria changes. I'll kind of explain to you what they're looking for, what the format's going to be. Because, look, and I know this ain't the best realistic, option to compare it to, but when you're looking at the college football playoff 25 or college football 25 game, how they're doing the seeding in RTG or in other type of game modes, there's a lot of confusing people getting bids. My first playoff game, I'm pretty sure I played like Duke or Kentucky in the national championship. It was weird. You saw all kind of things all over the place, and then it kind of made me wonder, is this a glitch in a video game? Is this just a weird, selection process? What is it exactly? So I had to know. Then the other day, I believe yesterday, the day before, they announced something about conference titles and the change that they had with that in the selection criteria. So let me break it down for you real quick. The way that they handle putting teams into the 12-man format is called 5+7 method. So you're going to have your 5 highest ranked conference champions, and then after that, you're going to have your next best 7 ranked. Now, when you do the next best 7 ranked, there could be some ties. There could be some situations where, you're going to have to figure out who's better than who. If you're both 8-4, if you're both this, if you're both that, what's going to separate you? College football announced yesterday that conference titles will no longer be a tiebreaker. So simply put, if you win a conference but you're not in the top 5 conference champions, it doesn't matter that you won your conference. Simply put. So you're going to see SEC, Big 10, Big 12. Now we're running out. ACC, I don't know what the hell Pac-12 is going to do. So you might throw somebody else in there. After that, you're just going to start putting in teams that you see, like the runner-ups, or maybe a 3-loss team, maybe a team that kind of had a slow start but a quick finish. And what matters in terms of tie-breaking, if conference titles don't matter, then what does? I'm sure you're wondering. Strength of schedule, head-to-head results. So who you play, how good they are, how often you play teams that are good, and then your head-to-head record against the teams that you're surrounded by. That benefits LSU. Their strength of schedule is always going to be one of the higher-ended strengths of schedule. You're going to be playing SEC caliber teams. Some of your non-conference teams will be like USC, a little bit of a tougher, Big Ten conference. It might be the second best conference. That's besides the point, though. So what I'm getting at is LSU has a clear path to the college football playoff. All they have to do is just get the gimme games, start the season strong, and we cannot lose anything questionable. We can't have any moments where you're just sitting there throwing your hands up like, oh my, they really let that slip. Everything has to be on point. Everything has to be on cue. There is a path, though. There is a path, and I don't think that they can be able to take it from us. Real quick, Happy Dad's is now available in Louisiana just in time for summer. We've been telling you about it, but Happy Dad's the best taste and official flavors. Make sure to stock up at Walmart, Rouse's, and Albertsons. Get it before it's gone. 21 plus, like we said. Teas, you got the seltzers, you got wild cherry, lemon lime, pineapple, watermelon for your teas. You got peach, original, lemon, blueberry. You got a grape seltzer. You got a couple of different seltzers. I believe a fruit punch seltzer. Go ahead and get it at Albertsons, at Rouse's, at Walmart. Tell them the Verdant Verdict sent you. All right. Wonder if we're back. I guess we're back. All right. I don't know. Cox Wi-Fi, bro. We got some stuff to figure out. We tried the other day to look for AT&T. Look to see if they had that hyper gig Wi-Fi over here in this area. They do not have it. So we're going back to the drawing board. We're going to have to figure some things out here. I can only take what they give me. But we're going to keep moving on. We're going to keep going. Like we said, happy dad. Best taste of hard seltzer and tea. Thank you to the boys for joining the team, for sponsoring the show. We're going to move back into what we were talking about. USC Fall Camp Intel. Here we go. We're going to start being a little rat. I'm going to start telling you everything that we found out. We scoured the internet, and hopefully we can stay on the damn internet for our show. Appreciate everybody for staying with us. You know, we're trying to beat this technology up damn near as much as it's beating me up. But USC Fall Camp, couple of injuries in South California, couple of injuries, couple of things making you hold your breath a little bit if you're a USC fan. Like, oh man, we're really having to deal with this. Knock on wood that LSU doesn't have anything of that nature. But, you know, it's a part of fall camp. It's a part of this sport in general. Malachi Crawford, the tallest cornerback that USC has to offer, he went down to injury. He's in a little bit of a, tough spot. He's going to be out for the season. I'm not sure exactly what the injury was, but he's a 6'4" corner. He had the length. He had, just about everything you would need to be able to create havoc for the offense, I guess. I mean, we're going to use a damn Blake Baker term like I'm playing on his defense or something. But that position for USC is, it's a tough loss, and every loss is a tough loss, and I'm not going to undermine anything. I will say, though, that USC, a lot of people have been saying they're deep at corner. They don't need every single corner, especially a corner that's about 2 years of experience. They've got a lot more people that they can throw out on the field, that they will throw out on the field. Their position coach is even saying something about damn 8 cornerbacks in week 1. Good Lord. They must be really deep. Another little bit of an injury scare that would be Achilles' heel, so to speak, for USC. We haven't even gotten to game week yet, and we're already talking about Achilles' heel. But this one's Elijah Page, their left tackle, their blind spot tackle, limped out of practice. He did return. He did come back. He is a little bit, in terms of, or for lack of a better word, he's kind of questionable. But I'm really confused on the whole, I'm not going to say hiding the injury thing, but it's just like a lot of the USC beat writers were saying he limped off of practice and it looked a little bit scary. And they were all kind of clamoring like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then Lincoln Riley comes out and he's like, it's fine. It's fine. Not long-term, nothing like that. I don't know if I trust it. Simply put, I don't know if I trust it. Now, am I saying Elijah Page is playing hurt? No. What I am saying is your damn blind spot tackle 2 weeks before you play LSU gets hurt, you're going to patch him up and send him back out there, and you're not sending anything, any type of information, any type of message, any type of, inkling that you're weaker on that side. Because if you are, LSU's defensive line might be able to have an opening debut, masterpiece, so to speak. You don't want to have your blind spot for your quarterback questionable at all, especially when he's your best offensive lineman. We'll get into that size. We'll get into that whole size question, that whole size debate, everything. I got USC's O-line comparing to LSU's O-line. I got USC's D-line comparing to LSU's D-line. Then we got the linebacker rooms being compared as well. Start off with the offensive line room. So the guy that we just talked about, Elijah Page, he is 6'7". One more time. He is 6'7", 320 pounds. And I'm not saying that LSU's left tackle isn't that big. Old Big Will Campbell, 6'6", 323. But I just want to simply say that their left tackle is damn near just as big, just as bad, just as scary as Will Campbell. Now, I'm not saying he is. I'm going to give Will Campbell the damn strap, the undisputed strap. He can tote it all he wants. He can rep it. But Elijah Page is a big dude. He's a mountain of a man, if you will. Left guard, USC, 6'5", 320. Garrett Dellinger for LSU, 6'3", 322 pounds. At center, USC, 6'5", 310. LSU, 6'6", 322 in DJ Chester. Right guard, USC, 6'4", 335 pounds. Miles Frazier for LSU, 6'5", 325 pounds. Right tackle, USC, 6'5", 315 pounds. LSU, Emory Jones, 6'6", 315 pounds. The offensive line is pretty similar in size. LSU has a bigger center, a bigger right guard, bigger right tackle, but all by about an inch. You see every offensive lineman on both teams over 300 pounds. They're all around 6'5". LSU's got 6'6", 6'3", 6'6", 6'5", 6'6". USC's got 6'7", 6'5", 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". It's pretty, big on both sides of the ball. But USC's in the Big Ten. They're going to have to be physical. They're going to have to rush. They're going to have to make something shake. So it's expected. Let's move to the defensive line. Let's move to the spot that was actually questioned, that a lot of people were actually wondering, are they going to be able to handle this? Well, USC, DN, 6'5", 275. Savion Jones, 6'6", 280. You got a bigger DN off rip. D tackle, 6'3", 315. Jacobian Guillory, 6'2", 320. Now, here's where you get debatable. You want a bigger, in terms of weight, D lineman that's 1 inch shorter, or a 1 inch taller D lineman that's it's about the same in weight. 5 pounds ain't big of a difference. So would you rather the length? Would you rather the weight? It's really all about preference at that point. That one's pretty balanced out. Next D tackle position, USC 6'4", 295. Our guy Gio Piez, who we expect to be alongside Jacobian, 6'3", 315. 3 bills. Keep that in mind. D end, USC 6'1", 260. Old Braden Swinson, 6'4", 250. So LSU has both bigger DNs, and both of their tackles are over 3 bills. Now I'm not going to short USC's second defensive tackle, 6'4", 295, 5 pounds off. 5 pounds off. Not a big deal. But what I will say is that the defensive line, comparatively, is bigger. Now, what LSU's offensive line size comparison, I feel like the thing I'm looking at here and the thing that I'm really noticing, I guess, is what you can say for LSU's offensive line versus USC's defensive line. You can arguably say vice versa. You can arguably say that LSU's defensive line is going to have their work cut out for them, so to speak, for offensive line. Do they have the running back depth? No. Do they have, all of the same aerial attack options? No, but they will have something. I think Miller Moss is going to be your understood quarterback. What I think helps LSU is that, you've got the advantage in size and weight, and, you don't have as much around the edge. Comparatively, they're like about 3 inches and maybe 20 pounds lighter than something you'd see in the SEC. But I think what the big picture here is going to be that LSU, while they do have a couple of defensive linemen that are, undersized in terms of height, maybe a 6'2", 6'3", you got a lot more that you can throw out there, I think. I mean, you still got Jalen Lee. You still got Sean Washington. You still got someone like Dylan Carpenter on the edge, Deshaun Womack on the edge. You still got a lot of other pieces in the fold. And I think that that's going to be kind of the crown jewel that makes LSU's defensive line just edge past the defensive line for USC. Now, offensive line, I think it's understood LSU's is going to be better. The tackle situation is going to be really, really, really good. And they're not oversized, but bigger in 3 aspects comparatively. At the left tackle position, they're pretty much even. Left guard, they have a bigger one, but we got a bigger center, right guard, and right tackle. So that's the exact size breakdown for the linebackers. We kind of forgot those. Their middle linebacker is 6', 230. Ours, Greg Penn, 6'2", 234. Their Will is 6', 230, and ours is 6'1", 225. And Big Perk Bo. So I think, we've got a shot to be able to make some noise. We've got a shot to be able to kind of push them around. Their offensive line's still pretty big. I don't want that to get understated. I want people to keep that in mind as well. We're going to have our work cut out for us as well. They're saying beat writers really basing their opinions off of watching drills, yada, 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 not allowing them to watch 7-on-7s or 11-on-11s. Yeah, I did kind of notice that because there was a little excerpt of people kind of just talking about the sights and scenes when they were getting ushered out of practice or whatever, and they kind of saw the sidelines getting divided into the scrimmage and all that. I didn't really take that into mind because, you could look at it glass half full or glass half empty, Connor. You could be like, they haven't really seen much, so they're kind of hyping them up. But there could also be, there's some good shit going on behind closed doors that they haven't seen. So I'm going to be devil's advocate and just say they could be doing good. USC could be heating up a little bit. I think, though, LSU has a clear path to victory just simply because they're going to be a little bit bigger up front on the offensive side that can, be paired in tandem with the depth that you've seen at the running back position. You've got a lot of mouths to feed, so to speak. Put Josh Williams out first, put Caleb Jackson out second. They're probably going to throw John Emery in, and then Caden Durham will get announced to college football. And I think, even if he only sees 2 to 5 reps, it just goes to show you've got 4 running backs that are all capable of seeing the field week 1. Sure, y'all might got y'all 8 cornerbacks. That's fine. You're going to need them. You're going to need them. Shit, you might need 12. So keep them on the field, keep them fresh, keep the legs ready, because LSU's wide receivers are about just as good. We said 4 running backs. LSU's probably got 6 wide receivers that they could throw at you. Now, do y'all have the same thing, and can your air offense kind of be similar? Oh, yeah. I ain't saying it can. I'm not saying USC can't throw for 300 on LSU. It could happen. All I'm saying is the path to victory for LSU is evident. Very evident. And the attrition also for USC is evident. You've got one of your biggest pieces of your offense in Elijah Page questionable right now, so to speak. Yeah, he was back at practice. Yeah, it's a smaller injury. Guess what? What happens if he goes down? There ain't many pieces to be able to substitute that. Same thing for, I'm not going to say, any names. I don't want to wish nothing, actually. But what I'm getting at is LSU, I think, has a little bit more depth in a lot more key areas. And USC is going to be in a situation where they find out where the kettle meets the fire. Rumors are USC pushed off this LSU rematch. Rumors are, or not rematch, but just match up. Rumors are Lincoln Riley was like, I don't really want to meet Brian Kelly. I don't really want to play LSU. And now, I don't know whether or not that's true. I can't confirm it. All I'm saying is if there were to be a reason as to why, it would be because of that. Our players are just simply not, I'm not going to say they're not ready, but that's a team that is going to take a step up in competition to start the season. Let's keep that in mind. LSU right now. We'll continue to monitor it. We'll be at practice tomorrow. We'll check out the highlights. We'll bring you our practice report live, and we're going to do our highlight videos like we normally been doing tomorrow afternoon around 12:30. But yeah, for the most part, that's about it. Let's see what we got in the chat. Blanche saying their O-line's new. Yeah, their defense line, they're going through a schematic change as well. Lincoln Riley kind of made mention to, I believe it's Bear Washington, one of their D tackles. It's probably one of their better D tackles too, how he hasn't really shown enough consistency to really be able to be like dependable. He's got to still be in practice. He's got to still be showing up. He's got to still be, not prohibited by injury, not prohibited by anything that's going to keep him off the field because he's still learning. And that kind of stuck out to me as well for the defensive side of things. But yeah, the offensive line has the same issue. And look, we're going to have some new pieces as well. We're going to have a new center. We're going to have a new, damn near whole defensive line. I don't know if we're back, but I was saying we're going to have some new pieces as well. We're going to have a new center. We're going to have pretty much an entire new defensive line besides, 2-3 guys. There could be something to say for us in that aspect as well. I think, though, like I said, the advantage and the path for LSU is getting pretty clear, and I think that they're going to be able to take it. And to add on to what Connor was saying, how they're not setting a starting 5, they're really not setting a starting quarterback either. We're guessing it's Miller Moss. We're guessing because of the pro day or the media day. We're guessing because of what you've seen from their interviews, from what you've seen from camp. They definitely have some things to iron out. And if you had to give anyone the advantage, if you had to give anyone the lean, I'm going to lean towards LSU. Could it be a close game? 100%. But the things that I've seen, especially from that running back room, and especially, at least from the defensive line that I've seen from LSU, might be able to make something shake, might be able to make it interesting. Like I said, tomorrow we will be doing our practice report. We will be doing our practice highlights as well, so stay tuned for that one. Appreciate everybody for joining the stream. Hope y'all have a good one. This has been The Verdict.